I've been looking for silver linings. Vivek and Elon Musk doing the Doge thing. Let's hope that turns out well.
And Ron Paul. I'm glad Ron Paul's in the mix.
Ron Paul, what's he doing?
Oh, dude, Ron Paul. Right before the election, Ron Paul came out and said, "You know what? Yeah, I don't think like any of these people are good or for freedom. But if you're cutting down the government, I know exactly where the bodies are buried. Call me in, put me in, coach, and I will help you every step of the way." And it's been ever since the election, every day, Ron Paul's getting in more and more. Which for guys like me, guys who grew up and really loved the whole idea of America, and then it came crashing down on us like a fucking piano in a Roadrunner cartoon. This is like Christmas is real territory. Like Santa is real territory
one of
for
the
us.
Parts of the Trump administration that I'm excited about. Like, I hope this goes well.
Yeah.
With the Doge,
How could you be against
thing,
that?
First of all, I would recommend anybody out there $500 worth of Dogecoin real quick. Go ahead and knock that out because Doge is going to be getting a lot of Google trends as he cuts $2 trillion out of the budget, as he says. But I think that this is kind of a shitty job for Vivek. It's a made up position, really, if we're being honest. Like, this isn't secretary of whatever or like ambassador to who's he what's it. Like, this is a shit tier position. This is the made up thing that you give your buddy. So because Elon has 18 different jobs, he's not going to be spending a ton of time on this. This is a position where he can kind of come and go as he pleases. So to give Vivek this is a little insulting, if you ask me. But I hope they do find ways. I hope they do a good job. They're taking applications for Doge agents on Twitter. On Twitter, Elon, there's an official government X account now. And it's Doge, and I think it even has the Doge dog on it to be extra goofy. And it says something like, "We're taking these kind of applicants. You'll work these hours, blah blah blah, cutting out government waste and inefficiencies." Elon and Vivek will look over the top 1% of applicants personally.
Do you have to be a blue check mark to apply for the job? Because I saw on Reddit that you do. You need to pay Elon $8 to apply to work there. But it's Reddit, and I don't just take that at face value.
I mean,
it's a good idea though.
Yeah, rental applications cost money. You don't want the thing getting flooded with useless clutter that would defeat the whole process, right? Then you end up with a new Mountain Dew flavor being Hitler did nothing wrong.
Yeah, and we never even got to taste it.
Don't usually cost money.
But rental applications do.
Is there a rental application we're talking about, or are we just trying to stretch it?
I'm just giving an example of an application that costs money to put in. All right.
No, Woody, if you go on freelance sites, they all have those boost your profile thing. I mean, I don't know. I do a lot of freelancer hiring, and it's to the point where if you don't pay for one of those, you're not getting looked at. Like everybody who you go through the first 10 or 20, and those are all boosted.
I see how that fits.
Makes sense.
Otherwise, you get 100,000 Indians applying for everything.
Either way, I hope I don't actually believe they're going to keep a public list of all the retarded nonsense our government spends money on. That was part of the promise. But I can't think of a more compelling way to win people over into that cutting waste thing than to actually have a public list where it's hey, did you know that we spent $330,000 for Bosnians to learn how to square dance in a culturally appropriate way? Or whatever the fuck nonsense. It's do you know how much do you think a door hinge costs at Fort Bragg? If you guessed $35,000, you're almost there. It's 40. Just the ridiculous nonsense where we get taken for a ride.
That's criminal, though.
I'm sorry. We're talking about cutting. Trump's talking about cutting disability for veterans, which on the surface sounds like, oh my gosh, that these poor people. But if you know any veterans, they all get disability for a freaking sore elbow from playing softball, while they were a serviceman. Dude, it's a job that pays for life seemingly. And I just have so many veteran friends, and most of them are getting disability afterwards. And a lot of them have really athletic jobs. And
they brag about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and when they're still in there, they're like, oh my God, does your fucking pinky finger hurt? Get that documented. You'll want that documented for when you get out and apply for disability. And it is a widely done scam. just fucking scam as scam can be. And if Trump takes away veterans scam, I mean, those are our heroes, right?
I hope he does that thing.
No, I mean, there's a huge
around.
difference between like someone who's actually like so mentally fucked or so physically fucked that they need this assistance, and those people need it 100%. But there are people like you're talking about who
send them back to war,
and then
if they say no, then they're not crazy.
A month.
I was thinking you could just have some guys, sneaking around, throwing firecrackers at their feet, dumping them out of wheelchairs, stuff like that. Like if they
want Antifa to come back,
genius, Kyle.
Antifa can handle this. Yeah, it's their bag. They enjoy this. They enjoy this kind of ruffian behavior. Anyway, so somebody needs to make sure these veterans aren't stealing, like what he says. This is,
or welfare fraud. All sorts of fraud out there.
How does welfare fraud work? Do you pretend you have kids you don't really have, or
where
you be black and you get money?
you basically get paid under the table and pretend you don't make any money. Like a lot of illegals work on.
Dude,
illegals qualify for Medicaid, housing vouchers, and WIC, which is food.
Yeah.
And so even if they make enough to support themselves through like under the table cash payments, they'll pretend not to, and then we got people double dipping.
Have you guys ever gone to a food bank? Oh, sorry.
No.
Oh man, I heard, I always thought it was really ghetto, or I just assumed it was. But then I heard that people were, I don't know, they framed it as taking advantage of it because you show up and get free food, and these people didn't need it. But so now I'm thinking maybe I'm leaving money on the table by not going to food banks because I'm really cheap, really cheap. So I kind of need approval to go do it from somebody.
Dude, did you see this? There's a viral clip that this person, it was some Indian guy, posted, and he thought it was going to be a life hack style clip that people would enjoy, and he was and it went super viral. He's like, guys, you're not going to believe how I am saving money in the United States. Step 1, stop buying food. Step 2, go to all local churches. They are all over the place, believe it or not. And you walk in and say, I want food, and they give it to you.
Yeah.
I have been doing this for 5 years. And it's just whatever. And everyone's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's not what this is for.
I gotta hide it though if I do it. I can't tell my girlfriend. That's too much.
I used to go to tons of Goodwills type stores to get TVs and shit to blow up, and every now and then I'd be like, "Can we can still shop here, right? Because that's a bargain."
That ties it. I was starting to tell my other story, and I got that one too. When I was young and broke, just getting started in life, I tried to buy shit at Goodwill or something like Goodwill, and they wouldn't sell to me. I wasn't broke enough. I'm like,
what?
My money's not green. Yeah. And then I lived in this.
What did they say? Wait, what? How did that come up?
There was a couch.
You're walking in there with a spat and a top hat.
All I had was a shitty futon that was susceptible to racking forces and shit. You couldn't use it and it wasn't comfortable. And I wanted a couch, and I was like, can I buy this couch? They're like, no, you have to qualify to buy here. And I'm like, fuck. I made $14,000 a year. Now, granted, that was the 90s. Call it what? 25,000 a year nowadays. Still broke, right? That's not a good living. And I was barely making ends meet. I lived in low-income housing, and I didn't get a break on the rent. Right? And again, they're like, oh, $14,000 a year. Yeah, that's low income. All right. But everyone who actually gets a break on the rent is earning zero. I'm like, zero? They're just lying. No one earns zero. How can you earn $0 a year? But that's what it took to qualify for low-income housing, and I just never got a handout.
Yep. People like you, the hard workers, getting fucked over by the people taking advantage of it. It's not fair.
I was starting to tell my other story, and I got that one too. When I was young and broke, just getting started in life, I tried to buy shit at Goodwill or something like Goodwill, and they wouldn't sell to me. I wasn't broke enough. I'm like,
what?
My money's not green. Yeah. And then I lived in this.
What did they say? Wait, what? How did that come up?
There was a couch.
You're walking in there with a spat and a top hat.
All I had was a shitty futon that was susceptible to racking forces and shit. You couldn't use it and it wasn't comfortable. And I wanted a couch, and I was like, can I buy this couch? They're like, no, you have to qualify to buy here. And I'm like, fuck. I made $14,000 a year. Now, granted, that was the 90s. Call it what? 25,000 a year nowadays. Still broke, right? That's not a good living. And I was barely making ends meet. I lived in low-income housing, and I didn't get a break on the rent. Right? And again, they're like, oh, $14,000 a year. Yeah, that's low income. All right. But everyone who actually gets a break on the rent is earning zero.
Mhm.
I'm like, zero? They're just lying. No one earns zero. Like, how can you earn $0 a year? But that's what it took to qualify for low-income housing, and I just never got a handout.
Yep. People like you, the hard workers, getting fucked over by the people taking advantage of it. It's not fair.
So,
and Mr.
wait.
Ramaswamy is
How
gonna
long
end
did you go without a couch then, since you couldn't afford? Or
Well, I had the
qualify for
futon,
couch?
so I don't know.
Oh.
Probably less than a year, but
God damn it!
You just go like, I'm not poor. I'm a Buddhist. And that's why we're going to fuck on my mattress on the floor tonight. The girl I met at the bar.
I had a mattress on the floor at the time. I didn't have bed money.
Dating on hard mode is such an unappreciated skill. I'll never forget that guy that I knew when I was working in Atlanta when I was 19. He must have been 23 or so. And I've told the story before, so I'll be quick about it. But like, he had moved from Pennsylvania down to Atlanta following his buddy because there's a group of 3 friends, and one of the friends was chasing a girl. So all 3 of these male friends moved down to like be the 3 amigos. And this guy couldn't afford to ship all of his belongings down. He could afford the plane ticket. He could afford first month's rent. Then he needed to get a job. And then eventually he'd pay to have his stuff in storage in Pennsylvania shipped down to him and fill his apartment out. Well, he didn't really take to selling cars. And so he didn't sell any for a while. So the storage place sold his belongings to whoever.
Yeah.
You know? They auctioned off his belongings like one of those Discovery Channel shows, just all of his shit. And I mean all of his shit. So I went over there one night to hang out with the 3 of them. We're drinking beers, hanging out on the balcony and shooting firecrackers. We're all like, I think I'm 19 and they're like early 20s, 21, 22. And at one point I went back and because Travis was like, have you seen dude's bedroom? And I'm like, no, why? He's like, come here, let me show you something. And I go in there and he has an air mattress with a sleeping bag. And those are his only possessions. And I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
His only possessions are an air mattress, and it's flat, dude. It's flat as a flitter, as my grandma would say. It is all the air has gone out of this fucking thing, and then there's a sleeping bag on it. And I swear to God, he got pussy on that thing one night. So
Dude, I can top that.
he brought a girl back and fucked her on it.
I was married, and Jackie was pregnant.
That's why it was flat.
And I got her. We didn't have box springs. We just had mattresses on the floor of our bedroom because I didn't start off wealthy. And so Christmas rolls around, and I'm like, I'm getting this woman mattresses because she's pregnant. And it's getting harder and harder to get out of bed. And she thought that was a bad Christmas present. She just doesn't understand utility.
You got her a second.
Did you get her a
mattress to
card?
put it on?
A box spring. A box spring.
you got her a box spring?
It's a ceiling.
Honestly, Woody, that's in great material. You got something you needed, and she should have appreciated it. I hope she apologized profusely.
I'll bring it up and see. How
You should bring it up. See what she says.
Woody, your wife was pregnant and all you had was a mattress on the floor?
Yeah.
Oh
We were
my
saving money
God.
for our
It's like
first
Oliver
house.
Twist. Well, what century was it where you were living this poor? That's
Previous
terrible.
one.
1995, maybe? No, we were married in 96, so maybe like 99, 98.
Yeah, those are hard years.
Wow.
Those
Yeah.
are hard years for the economy.
How many box mattresses do you have now?
I don't know. All we need.
More than you can count.
Dude,
Don't
he's
don't
flush
yo,
with
no,
them.
go ahead and brag, Woody. Tell us
Yeah.
how many Christmas trees you have. Tell them how many
I
Christmas trees
don't
you
know.
have.
I don't know what this year will bring. We're trying to tone it. That last year we must. What did I have? 5 Christmas trees, something like that.
You did. You were upset about it, and it made me laugh.
Man's got a half dozen Christmas trees, each more grand than the last.
If you got your wife like a box spring part, would that be like sentimental for her?
Dude,
Would
it
she
should
go like,
be
oh,
nostalgic.
Woody,
Yeah, right. Get her
this is
box
all I
spring.
ever wanted. Happy anniversary, honey. Yeah.
You know we're going to
Taking
need
it out of
more
there.
incarcerated people to keep this system going.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, we better
man.
hope. We better hope that crime is rising in order to backfill this.
That doesn't matter.
Oh, it is. Hooray! Actually, we could use all the government employees that are gonna lose their job. The people that have been doing that government employee thing where they're just like chill. Like I think Woody, you mentioned this. Like in the private sector, it's like a 75-25 thing where like 25% of the people are doing 75% of the work, like grinding, working hard. And you talk to anyone in government, and it's like a 90-10 split. It's even more.
I was going to
absurd.
use those same numbers. Yeah.
It's like someone like there's one dude in every DMV that is working his fucking ass off back there, and he has 9 other people who are not helping at all. They're like sending people home to be like, I need a second form of ID. And he's like, yeah, it's this. And they're like, no. It's like, go home. I don't want to see you in line right now.
I hope they can cut the cost of government by a lot, because I think there's a lot of waste there. Now, every time I hear about it, they're like, well, the actual money's being spent on like Social Security and Medicaid, and you can't make a big dent without reducing people's benefits. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's true. I also hear about $8,000 soap dispensers, which still bugs me.
Yeah, it's annoying. Because I imagine my tax dollars when I see something like that, and I'm like, if everything I paid in this year paid for only that many soap dispensers, this is criminal.
It actually just paid for the interest on the soap.
Sometimes the wasted money is a little bit justified. Like campaigns, right? This is not government, but the campaigns, before government.
Yeah.
I've heard like pretending I'm on a campaign, rent an extension cord for $50, which sounds insane, right? But they're like, it actually kind of makes sense. One, I need that extension cord delivered right now. Two, I need it taken away afterwards. I'm not going to keep this extension cord and go from city to city to city with it, like with some sort of traveling carnival. So it's like, yeah, we're kind of paying a premium more than the extension cord itself to rent it, because the delivery and the takeaway, and it makes a certain kind of sense if you squint just right. But I can't explain $8,000 soap dispensers outside of someone said, get this done. Someone got it done and paid extra.
Someone makes soap dispensers. That's how that happens. My brother makes.
That was Taylor's theory, and I'm with you. I'm talking too long about this. So viewers must be upset. But the one viable theory, like you said, is freaking Lindsey Graham's cousin makes soap dispensers, and that's getting the hookup. The other is
bathhouse.org.
My theory, which I have no proof for, is someone's tasked with getting it and not held responsible for any of the rest. It's like, oh, did it get there on time? Well, we're glad you're good at your job. And they pay $8,000 of somebody else's money, and no one cares about that part. Whereas in a private sector, they always care about the ROI.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a combination of the two things.
Did you bring up campaign spending, Woody?
Kyle did. I guess Harris is below water.
Yeah. Check this out. So, she's down like 20 million or whatever, right? That Progress.win company paid me and Vito to do an ad read for them on the biggest problem. And yeah, right?
You hate the Democrats.
Okay.
If there was a language of only hate speech, hate would still not be hate in that language would be how I feel about the Democratic Party. So we read the ad read, and they said usually they give you like stuff to talk about. And because it was us, Vito said, "Are you sure you want to advertise on our show the week before the election?" And they said, "Yeah. Just you don't have to say vote for Kamala. You just have to say what's important to you about voting and tell people to vote." So Vito starts reading the ad and goes like, well, what's important to me? And I say, what's important to me is not voting for a child molester. That's why I'm not voting for Tim Walz. And I started explaining, I started going into that like AI, that huge like retarded conspiracy.
Yeah.
That maybe it's true. I don't know. So the next day we get an email from the boss over there going, hey, we want our $500 back. Or do another ad. And Vito's like, no refunds. So I did another ad the next week, talking about, again, what's important to me. And then the election happened, obviously, Kamala blown out. And then we find that she's down $20 million. So I'm like, hey, I'm part of that $20 million. Isn't that, they really did need the money back. Isn't that great?
Dude,
they really didn't know what they were doing. I knew it.
Why on earth would they, first of all, shout out Harris campaign, you overlooked us. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You could have got us in the mix. But like, why would they pay you?
I don't know.
So there was no research at all in it. They were just
they knew who we are. I guess they thought $500 like meant more than it does to me. I mean, no offense to anybody, but I'm not betraying Trump for $500.
So you took $500 from Trump's political enemies and then read a conspiracy into the read.
I don't don't know that it's a conspiracy. It's just important to me that not child molesting is I'm very anti. So if there's a whiff of it, even that AI said that Wells molested him. So I was like, that's too much for me. I don't know, computer man. I don't know who to believe.
The AI said that? Which AI?
There was an AI. This computer generated black guy was saying that Tim Walz molested him, and I'm like, I don't know that computer's lying. So
dude, I saw people like giving that retard so much attention as he was posting it on Twitter. And like all these like wish casting morons being like, oh, the truth is coming out about Tim Walz. And it's like, this guy's so clearly lying for engagement to bait you into talk. He'd be like, here's the next post. And then it would be like the next day. And then every post was just like, clearly made up email screenshots, like his own sender address is in some of them,
with the cursor still in it.
The cursor is in there because he's been editing this. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, you could be a fucking moron to buy any of this shit. And there were thousands of people like, fill us in next on what's happening, brother.
Yeah, because you don't know.
Yeah, I think we all
don't know for sure.
I think that's one yeah, that's true. You can never know for sure. But I will say the way that guy delivered that message was pants on head retarded.
Believable. It struck a chord with me as a voter. So I talked about that.
Dude, that's so fucking funny. You made $500 from the Harris campaign.
Yeah. And then Trump's going to pay it back. So really Trump's paying me $500.
Trump's going to pay back the debt of.
I think so.
He offered to as a mean kind of joke.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, I saw you're in debt. We actually have like a ton of money left.
A ton of money.
Yeah, that's because we did so much organic advertising. That kind of cost too much."
A positive thing for me about Trump, Jackie cannot get on board with this, but Trump says he's going to bring Elon in to make the government more efficient. I just read how we're paid something like 80,000% too much for washers and soap dispensers on airplanes, as military airplanes. And it's like we're paying something like $18,000 for a soap dispenser. And Elon's supposed to come in and clean all that shit up. And Jackie's like, Elon's not the good guy. And it's like, can we admit that maybe he does have some positive attributes, that like he's good at something business wise, cost cutting or something? Like he came into Twitter, removed, I'm going to make up a number, like 2/3 of the staff, and Twitter's still up.
Yeah.
Did you hear Elon? They asked Elon how much money he thought he could cut out. Did you hear the number?
I'd love to.
Probably a ton.
$2 trillion.
I mean,
he's like, I could save us $2 trillion right away.
Dude, there's so much government. I'm 100% on board with Woody here. Like, I don't have a delusion that's going to fix all the problems, but like, we can never tax our way out of the hole we're in. Like, it's a spending issue. Like, we spend an absurd amount and we get taken for a ride by the exact kind of thing you're talking about, which is the fucking uncle of some senator makes washers in a factory and gets some advantageous contract that isn't allowed to be competed on. And then they sell us washers for, $85 a piece instead of 2 cents.
It could be that. I have a different theory. We could both be right too, which is the people buying it are so disconnected from the source of the money, they don't care about the price. It's like
also true.
My job is to make sure you have the soap dispensers you need. And if I pay $18,000 a pop, people pat me on the back for getting it done.
Yeah.
And no one cares about the cost.
Yeah, it's like that old King of the Hill episode where the army barber Bill is cutting a general's hair, and Hank is there, and Hank's like, "So you're telling me, General, you spent $95,000 on this chair for cutting your hair in?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course we did. But you see, where we get the savings is we only spend $2.2 billion on a bomber. You find a bomber for $2.2 billion."
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's like they spend way too much money, and you're 100% right. They're too disconnected from it. To them, it's just funny money. It's infinite. Print more or tax more, and so a little accountability with government spending, that would be fantastic. And it's something they don't really seem to care about. So having anyone in charge of it with a good business acumen can't hurt.
All right, so like that's all. Let's all hope that goes the way we want it to. Let's talk about Trump's personality and how the next months are going to unfold, because there's the transition of power, which can either be a very elegant, graceful thing, or a really like shit show, embarrassment kind of thing where someone shows their ass. And I'm wondering which is it's going to be. I remember when George W. Was voted, well, when his term was up, and they came in and they had torn all the W's off the keyboards. Like, I wonder if there's going to be shenanigans like that. Like, I can't remember who it was. I think whenever George W. took over for the Clintons, I think they made a comment about giving the place a good steam cleaning, because it was filthy from the Clintons, Like, I'm hoping to see a little bit of that from Trump, honestly. Like I just can't see him being the bigger man ever. So and Biden can't defend himself anymore.
What are you talking about, Jack?
He like convinces Biden. He's like, "No, Biden, you won. Stop! Don't tell him that.
Don't tell him that. That's rude.
He'll believe you."
I wanted him to go out there when he was doing the concession speech today, where he's like, "I called Donald Trump and congratulated him." I wanted him to be like, "This is all your guys' fault. You betrayed me. You stabbed me in the back, and you replaced me by some Indian lady nobody even liked. And look at you now, old Joe here isn't here to save you." That would be so funny.
I'm gonna hop on my bike and ride off into the sunset, and then he struggles to hop on a bike.
They said you gotta pick a black or brown woman to be your vice president. I said that's not even legal. I'm like very fearful of shithead neocons getting back in and agitating for war with Iran. Yeah, like if Rubio's and Graham's and these
Secretary of State
people,
Marco Rubio?
Dude, if he picks Marco Rubio,
he's already picked Marco Rubio. He's the Secretary of State.
See, like that's the worst possible thing. Like an establishment pro-war
Little Marco,
neocon.
Secretary
Marco. Realize
I don't think it's been
Rubio
confirmed
was
yet.
I thought so.
I thought it was like a rumor.
I'm not sure on the level of confirmation. I have seen Rubio's name everywhere and no one else's. So
I very much dislike that.
I know Lindsey Graham, I think of as the most hawkish person outside of Bolton, who always seems to get into every Republican administration.
I hate that guy. He's the worst.
Not this one.
You got into this one last time.
They made the joke about
he snuck in last time, and he's like, he's like putting like papers and bills that say like, and we also start a war with. And then they're like, John.
Trump doesn't read this shit.
running out of the halls. I almost got you again.
Yeah,
with his mustache. That guy sucks.
They were joking about that streak being broken on CNN with him. Like, I don't think you're going to be in this time. It's like, no.
No, did you notice I'm here on CNN? That's how you know.
Yeah. He anyway. Trump is so petty. He uninvited those two people. Who was it? It was Nikki Haley and Pompeo, maybe. Like, there was no reason to like tweet, "Hey, just so everyone knows," and so they know, you won't be on the Trump team this time around. So don't get your hopes up. Like it's like, why tweet that?
Because a lot of people were worried he was going to put those two in.
Come on,
Pompeo, hardcore.
Come on, that's no. He's getting them. This is him fucking sticking them one. He's saying that. See, Haley, you shouldn't have tried to run against me. You shouldn't have tried the primary against me.
Oh yeah, Haley fucked up royally. Like 2 weeks ago, she was speaking out saying like, "Oh, Trump is such a threat and this and that," and it's like clearly she didn't see the writing on the walls. Now she's not going to be in the cabinet. Which is
look at the dream team here. All right, so I've seen this Stephen Miller guy speak before. Oh my God, does he hate illegal immigrants?
That guy is so like cold-hearted, mean.
Yes.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Villainous.
Thank you. That's better than anything I was coming up with. I don't have words to. He's just not good. Like there's no goodness in.
Because he wants to get rid of illegals.
No, dude, you don't know.
Because he fucking he does it with hate. He does everything he does with hate for the others.
What makes
I wouldn't go so I don't know about the hate part, but he's angry. He's like, "You're here, you don't belong, and it's pissing me the fuck off."
Yeah, that's
like his speech I'm telling you, you should watch his. This isn't even a negative toward him necessarily. To me, when I saw it, I was like, good. Somebody who's not just like, "Oh, energy department. Huh. So what do I do there? Keep the lights on, I guess. Wink, wink, nod, nod." I'm glad that he's like, "This is my bread and butter. It's what I've been training for." You think I'm bald? I shaved my head so I can deport faster.
He's got a Game 7 mentality.
He was speaking at the Republican National Convention, I believe it was, the Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off thing and everything. And he's up there. He's like, we're going to get them all. If you're out there and you can hear my voice, run. He says,
Dude, the reason they go hard with that stuff is because that's popular. Like the majority of the country wants to deport illegals. It's very normal to want that to happen in your country. You don't want people barging in.
I hope they get they're going to obviously start with the criminal people, you would hope, and the dangerous people, anyone who commits a crime now and you're overstaying your welcome, you should immediately get vacuumed out. We should just be gone.
Send them to our enemies. I've said that before.
Well, sending them to where is going to be an issue.
Moscow, airdropping tens of millions of illegals into Moscow.
Okay.
They don't even know. There's no runways open. They just involuntarily parachuting.
Yeah,
involuntarily parachuting. Like Putin would be scared. He'd be like, "We're being invaded," and he's like, "Oh no, we've got a lot more mouths to feed. These guys are expensive. That's why the Americans jumped over here."
We call it Operation Brown Dawn. They'd wake up and they'd have 10 million Mexicans. Their economy would boom, though, right? They'd be working so hard over there.
I don't think that's how it would work.
Maybe. I don't know.
How it works. Those are hardworking people. What do you think? They're criminals?
Oh, certainly
literally
not. Break in wherever you want.
They are. Yeah. So I love the immigration stuff. I'm looking forward to that. I hope that it gets crazy. I hope that it's fun to watch. And I hope they get all the right people. I hope that no American citizens are scooped up.
Trump said that he was going to have the Ukraine-Russian war solved the day after he was elected. He's like, I won't even have to take office. Just the moment I get elected, that war will be over the next day. So that didn't happen.
Hasn't stopped yet.
Musk and Putin have been meeting, apparently.
Well, that's a way to describe it. He was on a he was on a Zelensky called Trump to congratulate him for winning. And Trump was with Musk. And he said, hey, you want to talk to Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, while you're here? Because he's obviously flexing that he's hanging out with Elon Musk. And he handed him the phone. And that became such an article to make it seem as though Trump convened a big meeting with Zelensky and Musk and laid out a bunch of Starlink stuff or something. It just seemed like if we were all here and somebody called one of you and then they went on speakerphone, and then the news story was Taylor speaks to Jackie. Is something going on?
I don't think that's the whole story that I'm talking about.
I mean, Trump has to talk to Putin if they're going to try and end it, right? Like, how else are you going to do it except for having?
Oh, it wasn't that. It was that Musk was being involved in the conversation. Again, a guy with security clearance. It was just a non-story.
They've been meeting since 2022. Putin asked Musk to turn off his Starlink satellite service over Taiwan. I said Musk has been meeting with Putin, and you said Zelensky was on the phone and Trump handed the phone to Musk. So,
my bad.
I mean,
I heard
like
Zelensky.
It could be that
I thought you were referring to the Trump Zelensky Musk phone call that was a news story this week. You're talking
that
about
to me is meeting with an ally. Putin's not an ally, although I guess he'll be redefined come January as Russia will be an American ally now. Just Trump likes Putin, I guess.
I mean, if we can end that war, that's for the best. I did see the Starlink stuff about Taiwan, and I saw a bunch of people being like, oh, clearly Musk is in bed with Putin. It's like, are you retarded? Musk is the whole reason the Ukrainian front line was able to communicate at all for the whole first 2 years of the war. Zelensky is on TV. Yeah, still now. Yeah. Zelensky's was on TV in Ukraine and publicly posting, like, thank you so much to Elon Musk. You're keeping us in this. Like, the idea that this is, like, I think it's just like, we're going to see the histrionic Russia thing again. Hopefully not for too long. Hopefully we end the war and it ends and we don't have to send any more munitions, any more money, any more nonsense.
Don Jr.'s tweet to Zelensky.
Yes.
Like cutting your allowance off, big boy. it's like, dude, stop.
Is that exactly what it said?
Did I really say that?
Really close.
It's something about his allowance. I heard allowance is going to run out, but I'm not confident enough to say it wrong.
Dude, the problem with that statement is he's not adding enough other countries. Also at Israel, also at Egypt, also at Saudi Arabia.
Oh, I like that shit.
No more money for you guys. We're spending it at home, bitch. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it'll be fun to see what happens over the next 4 years. Fingers crossed on the wars ending and not letting this Iran thing boil up into something huge.
Yeah, I'm mostly interested to see what happens with border security. That's the main thing. Not only
huge, yeah.
Not only deporting and rounding up the illegals, but shoring up the wall itself and keeping it, or not the wall, but the border.
He told him he was 38 days from his allowance running out. That's what he told him.
Good, get it done in time. I really dislike just how open both Harris and Walz have been with like, yeah, I mean, free speech doesn't protect hate speech and misinformation, and that needs to be shut down. It's like, no. That's not how free speech works. Free speech isn't there to protect people being like, go Ravens. It's to protect actually, controversial speech.
Well, I don't want to protect
the idea
Russian
that you can just let
bots,
the idea you can just let one political party or a bunch of rich oligarchs in big tech decide what is and isn't allowed to be said by the American public on the public square, which is Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of these things.
I hear where you're coming from, but it's so difficult to get this right? Because at some point, telling people vaccines are bad and creating a movement that gets people to stop taking them, and not just the COVID one. I know that one's newer, but vaccines in general. RFK says they cause autism and the world should stop taking vaccines. But we know they do a lot more good than harm. And if you spread information like RFK does, it is more destructive than yelling fire in a theater. It's a problem.
Why can't he
on the other
make
hand,
his voice heard?
I have more to say. On the other hand, to your point, like it is really difficult to figure out what's right and what's wrong. I remember about the masks, right? At first you don't need masks. Then any mask will do. Then cloth masks are no good. And that changed. And you could get banned from Twitter by saying that it came from a lab in Wuhan instead of the bat market or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think they were doing that in good faith. And then it turns out they were working on perhaps wrong information. And if you censor people for saying shit that's not true, that could later turn out to be true, then you've done a terrible thing. So it is hard to censor, and if you want people to be right and not hurt other people, but you don't know for sure what's right, it puts you in a spot where you get shit wrong and it becomes a bad thing.
For me, it's very easy. Like, when in doubt, don't censor people. Like, if you're directly calling to harm someone or being like, go to this person's house and drag him out of it. Like, we all know can't do that shit. But the idea that like RFK can't go talk about the fucking his whatever platelet spinning shit he thinks Americans should do to be jacked, or if he like has a problem with some vaccines, he should be able to say what he believes. And all it's going to do,
mostly agree. It's just I'm trying to say it's really hard to draw that line and get it right all the time. It's like any kind of
notes
moderation,
fixes this, right?
If you give them that credence, that leeway to do it, like, we know the side that wants to censor misinformation, like, they censored the mask stuff. They censored lots of stuff over the past few years that ended up being correct. And like, I don't give them all the faith of like, oh, they just got the information wrong. Like, no, they at some point knew the Hunter Biden laptop was real. Those intelligence agents knew that, and they lied, and it was set as misinformation. And so, like, no matter who's in charge, whether it's Harris or Trump or whatever, like, I don't want that person to be able to go, oh, this thing that reflects poorly on me and my friends and my little enclave here, my donors, my big spenders. No, that's misinformation, actually. And questioning it loses you your YouTube channel. How do you like that? Loses you your Twitter account, your Facebook. Like, it's sinister, and it's always overused. Like, it never stops on one little thing. Like, they want more control over our speech online. And that's a huge threat, because that's all we have online now is speech here for the most part. Like, that's why like Elon buying Twitter was a great thing. Like, actually having a more uncensored, and he still censors plenty of stuff. There's still stuff censored on there.
He still censors stuff he doesn't like. And Twitter may have been somewhat political back in 2015, but what it is now is off the fucking charts. The owner of Twitter is literally going to Trump rallies and promoting Trump.
Yeah, the owner of Facebook, literally $400 million.
He's giving millions of dollars to people to vote in the way that he wants them.
More or less.
This is so far beyond the pale
more or less
of what
money
you didn't like about 2015 and 2016.
Hold on,
what he's doing now is fucking insane.
You had no problem with Mark Zuckerberg doing this.
A media company and is taking his bias and putting it out there 100 times more than existed 4 years ago or
That's
8 years ago.
Facebook
and you
was
don't see
actively
not
covering
true.
up stories.
He's donating hundreds of millions of dollars to Trump's campaign. Like that, if Twitter had a bias before, it was subtle, and it was like a couple dick
It
pics
wasn't
of the
subtle.
Hunter Biden.
It wasn't
Now
subtle. They
it
covered
is
up information
fucking
that was hurtful
wild.
to Democrats in an election season. It wasn't subtle.
This isn't subtle. What's happening now is so far beyond what has ever happened before. Fucking literally, Elon Musk is on stage at Trump's rallies promoting him, paying people millions of dollars to vote for Trump.
I don't remember
In
you having
swing
an issue
states
with this
only.
4 years ago when Elon Musk.
That's what I'm saying to you.
I'm sorry, not Elon Musk.
That's what I'm saying
Mark
to you.
Zuckerberg.
Like,
Yeah.
4 years ago, I did have an issue with it, and I was a little like, it turns out they fucked that up, and I don't like it. But what they're doing now is so far beyond what they've done in the past. Now that Elon Musk, a Trump supporter, a future Trump cabinet member, they say, is owning Twitter.
I want to know,
wild.
what is okay. So the owner of Facebook, a larger site than Twitter by all metrics, he put $400 million largely into Georgia in the get out the vote portion of the Democratic outreach program. Like, that's what he did. And he used his position at Facebook to delegitimize stories like the Hunter Biden thing, anything negative about Biden and the Democrats. And he got rid of those stories. They know this. It's confirmed. And so this idea that now that Elon Musk on Twitter is doing something similar, that now it's this crazy beyond the pale thing. It's like billionaires are in our politics for better or worse. And I think it's probably almost always worse.
For the worst, for sure.
It's like happening.
What Zuckerberg did, if he donated, I didn't hear about him donating $400 million to the Democrats. That never got into my feed. But I can hear about Musk's, and it's happening right now. And it's also hundreds of millions of dollars. And
Musk
it's
is
not
wild
just
right now.
like subtle ads or whatever. Like, he's on the stage. He's jumping up trying to make an X in his dorky little
they banned whole stories negative about Biden from entire platforms
on X right now.
Do you think that's as impactful?
I think it shows the bias. Like, what has happened to the conversations on X have shifted. Like, my red friends, the ones who don't like to hear anything that they don't like to hear, are like, you have to go to Twitter to get the truth nowadays. Everything else is a lie, right? Because Twitter is a safe space for Republicans.
There's a ton of left-leaning people on Twitter.
Yeah, but I'm telling you,
it's a safe space.
It's more. It's definitely more. It's more right wing now for sure.
Yeah,
but that's also just like
by design.
Elon Musk taking his thumb off the scales, and now
Elon Musk put his thumb on this scale.
The thumb was on the scales for years. They admitted this.
Guy. They changed the algorithm so that Elon Musk's tweets get special treatment above all else. And he retweets Republican talking points and Republican.
He's totally biased. Yeah,
and so he got upset when he wasn't the biggest tweeter on the planet. So they made him that algorithmically. That is finger on the scale. That is buying a publishing company and then pushing out your political message as the richest man the earth has ever seen. Bezos did the opposite. Bezos refused to endorse a candidate.
He refused to allow his newspaper to do the endorsement they wanted.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I should have said it that way. So but Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, and he's doing sort of the opposite of what Elon Musk did, in that he's just staying quiet about who Washington Post.
I think it's because he probably sees the writing on the wall and that a Trump win is very likely, and he wants to be seen in a more positive light by that administration, because he has been
I somewhat agree with you, but I see it a little differently. I think he sees that if Kamala wins, there will be no punishment for failing to endorse her. But if Trump wins, there will be a punishment for endorsing the wrong person. So he's just going to stay quiet because Kamala will forgive him and Trump won't.
Maybe. I mean, but they endorsed his opponent in every other race.
Man,
they stopped, right? Why does the Washington newspapers endorse people? Like, that's a thing that newspapers do.
Isn't that insane?
Not the Washington.
That we like you're supposed to read this stuff from the New York Times and be like, what a prestigious organization. Who'd they endorse? Oh, the same party every time. Every time for probably, 80. Yeah. And so our media is so corrupt. And I like more freedom of speech online, whether it's Elon giving it or Zuckerberg. He's not really known for doing that.
Or paid Russian disinformation activists,
if that's the cost,
Laura Loomer,
if that's the cost of having
the Russians to spread lies about the Ukraine war, is that the free speech we're protecting?
I would err on the side of allowing that versus shutting down whatever the current ruling party sees as threatening, because that's all that heavy censorship is. It's not about protecting people. It's about the people in power at that moment having the ability to solidify their stance and their ideology by banning speech outside of it.
But it is a problem when Russian pays American influencers $100,000 a video to sprout Russian lies.
I agree. I don't like any foreign interference in our politics. That's why I've like mentioned disliking AIPAC so much on this show. I don't like any of this foreign influence. America should be for Americans.
There's harmful disinformation, and I can't have what I want. I want the harmful disinformation to not be spread. But since I don't know where the harmful disinformation is until 2 years later, I can't get it right all the time. And because I can't get it right all the time, it's this like, you know, it's better to let 100 guilty people walk free than to let one innocent man get convicted sort of thing. Like that's where I am with censorship. And I just don't know how to get it perfect.
Yeah, I want to talk about Elon's making his jumpy X though, because that's got to be. I didn't realize he was trying to make an X at first.
Oh, where he's got his fucking midriff hanging out like a retard.
Dude, I am not a good jumper, but I've got a better vertical than Elon Musk.
I think Woody and I can out jump Elon, and we're not jumpsmen.
Why does he keep doing it? Because I'm sure he's seen photographs of him doing it, and it doesn't look good. And yet
I saw the crowd beg for it. Like they're like, do the X, do the X.
Do
like
the
it's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, but they're laughing at him. You know, it's like a kid that stutters, and they're like, "Say Mary had a little lamb."
Did you see Trump talking about him on Joe Rogan, where Trump was like, "You've been hanging out with Elon Musk a lot. Like, what's he like?" And Trump's like, "Great guy. This guy, he's such a good guy from another planet. This guy." Like just like talking about what Trump thinks he's a fucking weirdo.
Even 10 years ago, when Elon was like, the saving the world for the Democrats guy, I still couldn't find him to be a compelling speaker. He is one of the worst communicators who's ever been in his position.
The space stuff is cool, and I am so in favor of making Twitter more free speech. But outside of that, the boring company, don't care. Tesla, I'm not interested.
What about the flamethrowers?
Flamethrowers, no, don't care about that. Flamethrower. It's really the Twitter. It's the Twitter and the space stuff that's top tier from him.
Yeah.
I like his politics. I think he's just he's got some good takes. I love that he's got this program in Pennsylvania where he's like, there's $1 million prize that you randomly get if you register to vote or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I saw him give a big check to the winner, and it's like he's made it a game show. It's beautiful.
Apparently that's illegal. And
while they're suing him, he didn't show up today for court.
Right. Which in my world means you automatically lose. But I just am assuming the rules are different for Elon and he'll never be punished and everything will be fine.
Of course. Like,
is it even illegal? Or are they like trying to?
I've seen it again and again. Do I know the law? No.
Yeah.
But
it seems like it should be.
It seems like we don't tend to actually enforce laws against the amount of money that billionaires and large corporations bandy about in the political world.
There's a thing we agree on.
Yeah.
Last week they also found out that he'd been having these private conversations with Putin for over 2 years, and Putin had asked him to not employ Starlink over Taiwan or something like that, or as a favor to China.
What is why we have Starlink over Taiwan? Just give internet over there?
Yeah. Well, he wants to make the whole planet like internet accessible. Like,
it's taking so long on that. I thought
he's launching,
seeing more.
Well, he has the most satellites.
Putting satellites in space. Give him a minute.
Continuously.
Generally get moving.
Zach, show me. How about this? How many satellites do you think Elon Musk put into space this month?
35,000.
Wait, this month? I'm gonna say 34.
Yeah, I'll guess
that's
20.
Probably. I bet he a fucking 100. I bet each rocket's carrying like 50 of them or something.
Okay, fine. If he's popping 100 a month up there, I retract what I said.
Look, I'm guessing. I just know he's got thousands and thousands of them, and that like over 2/3 of existing satellites are Musk satellites. Like I can't see them with my eye, but I see people who are in the right area, and you see this line of fucking satellites moving through space. Was it 60 launching?
60 per launch.
60 per launch. How many launches this month?
I thought he meant one.
What I'm saying is,
either way, 60.
It was pretty sketchy to hear that about Musk, and I don't know. He's got so much power and so much wealth, and to be tied into those key industries as well is a little sketchy. He's not just like
making deals with Putin on the side. Like,
his wealth isn't in like snack foods, so it's a little scarier.
That's Mr. Beast now.
Yeah, right. Like,
No,
if
they
you
can't.
heard that the
Dude.
CEO of Boeing was secretly meeting with Russia and, listening to his thoughts on what he'd like Boeing to do. It'd be like, what the? No, Boeing is for us. Boeing's an American company. But Elon Musk is also a defense contractor.
What is Musk
As of
say
the 26th, he'd had
What's
22
his,
launches of 60 per launch. Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot. What did Musk say about the Putin thing?
I haven't heard Musk speak about it.
He
Hasn't
said,
spoken to
vote
it?
Trump 2024, MAGA country. And then he did a little ha and he jumped.
I mean, did he do the yeah?
That's Howard Dean. So that might be before your time.
No,
That's
I remember Howard Dean.
Dude,
Yeah.
I can't believe that was disqualifying for president. He let
think
out
of
an
Howard Dean,
excited
by the way.
yell in a crowded environment, and I guess the mics picked him up and not all the crowd noise, and it made him sound crazy, and his campaign was over.
That was
And-
2004, right?
Nowadays, you could literally get convicted of rape, and they're like,
Roughly.
I'm going to bite. I stick with you.
We're going to
There's no media confidence the way there was.
They're going to
Yeah, your
And the
mic's
next
muting
day,
you
they
for
were
all
like,
that because it knows that it doesn't want you to have this Dukakis moment.
What was his name?
Did
It
my
wasn't
mic-
Dukakis.
Did my mic do something?
When you yell,
You
your
out,
mic
it yells.
quiets you.
Oh.
So you need to
it
tamp
just
it
happens like a
down.
couple times a show.
Calm down, big guy.
Howard Dean, that's who it was.
Yeah.
Howard Dean, Jimmy's
call that.
political brother.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
sausage
we'll
guy.
see. I don't know. I'm not confident that Kamala's going to win, but if someone's confident Trump's going to win, then I think they're being silly.
Absolutely. I am
If
not
I
confident
was
in any
forced
outcome.
to bet on it right now, it
Trump.
seems more likely Trump, and so I'd put my money there.
Yep.
But I'm not confident enough to put money on this.
Nope. Not at this juncture.